Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. Everybody's got a riot story to tell, but nobody ever really talks about what happens after the riot. So let's get into it.
Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. In the late 80s, I became involved with drugs and would eventually become part of that lifestyle of trafficking, addiction, and violence. Over the next 20 years, I would be in and out of jail and prison. If you're thinking about trying something or you're dealing with addiction, your life don't need to go down the same path mine did. I hurt a lot of people, both physically and emotionally. These are my stories of how I transformed my life, and you can too. Let's get.
Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. As you can see by the title and the thumbnail, what happens after the riot? So, like I said in the intro, everybody seems to have riot stories on YouTube about, when things crack off on the yard or in the chow hall or in the dorm or wherever it may be. But I haven't really seen anybody cover what happens once the riot is quelled. So I'm going to get into that here today. So, depending on where you are, uh, county jail is different than prison in a lot of ways. Uh, I've been in 5 riots total when I was involved in my criminal career. And basically, it's not quite the same. Like there's a certain process to it, I guess, but uh, we'll kind of go through that. Starting in LA County Jail. This was the riot with the Pisces. So in that one, we were outnumbered real bad. We kicked it off trying to get the element of surprise, but it's kind of hard to get the element of surprise in Supermax when everybody's all up in everybody's business and there's 9 woods grouped up at the bottom of the stairs. You know what I mean? Like everybody's paying attention. But in that one, they sprayed those, or not sprayed, they threw in those, they're not concussion grenades, but they're like those little rubber balls that, like rubber bullet type things. They kind of bounce around, and if they hit you, they hurt like hell. So, ultimately, they start off like, okay, at the front of LA County Supermax, it's bars. They're really big, long bars. Uh, kind of like the best way to describe it is like if you've seen images of the border wall that Trump was building, like those long rust colored bars, maybe I don't know how high they are, but they're high. And they're standing there and they break out the camcorder and they're recording everything and they're yelling at you to stop fighting, which is a joke, when you're in the middle of all that chaos. But so they shoot in those uh the rubber bullet thingies, whatever, I don't know what they're called, but whatever they are. And eventually they get it quelled. So what they're going to do is first they're going to remove the main alleged agitators, like the people, the last ones to quit fighting basically are going right away. Uh, so they get those guys out and then they put everybody on bunk status. It's a lockdown basically, which, I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's a joke too when you're living in a dorm. But everybody's on bunk status. It's like 2 guys up at a time for the restroom or whatever, one upstairs, one downstairs, I believe. And, so you're on bunk status. Now, with the woods, there was word that a couple guys didn't participate. So that's something that needs to be dealt with. And that was dealt with. And I've told that story, uh, the LA County Jail riot story, the first one I ever told. You can go back and check that one out for all the details. But, the leadership, the remaining leadership will get together and figure out, like, is there still an issue? Sometimes it'll just kick back off, to be honest. But the issue was dead at that point. It was like me and another solid wood. We ran a couple of woods off that didn't participate, and there were still 35 of them. So yeah, it was a dead issue at that point on that one. So then I get to prison, and the first riot in Delano CCF. As soon as I walk into the compound, basically to the small yard, kicks off within minutes. And that one, they just lock the doors because they're geo security guards or whatever there, and they call for the Department of Corrections to come and handle it. That one lasted a long time, and I think most of us were pretty happy that it was over when it was over, if I'm being totally honest. So in this one, they get everybody separated. They were using zip ties because they don't have enough handcuffs for everybody. There was probably 60, 70 participants maybe in that one. And, they get you zip tied, they get you separated basically. And they start calling the other races back to their housing units that were out there in that vicinity. And they get them all back to their housing units. They come around, they do their checks, like they're looking at like knuckles, they're looking at your face to see if you have any marks or anything. They strip you out, and basically they either once they go through all that process, get anybody medical attention that needs it. Then what they did with me on that one was they put me in the hole, along with probably about 10 other woods on that one, and probably about the same amount of Pisces. And they put us in the hole pending transfer. Okay, so didn't get a write-up on that one, but that would come as well. And the thing about these riots is a lot of times, like, you can get away with a lot of stuff in the riots, like, as long as, I mean, by the time they got there, like, we were all getting down, but we had bruises and bumps and stuff that identified us as participants, basically. So from there, they send me over to McFarland, and basically this one happened actually out on the recreation yard, and it was kind of the same process. So this one involved us in the Southsiders, and it was kind of the same process, but it didn't last nearly as long. A lot of movement on the yard, moving back and forth, getting some lumps in, taking some lumps, and same process basically. They got us all separated. They got us all zip tied. They removed the people that needed medical assistance, maybe if they were leaking or something, or there weren't any weapons, as far as I know, involved in this one. But and on this one, I actually got a 115 for participation in a riot. So with this one, it basically it bumped my points up. I don't remember exactly how many points that is. And from what I hear, if you get 2 participations in a riot, it's an automatic shoe term. So luckily, I didn't get a 115 for the first one, and county jail don't count. But the thing is, they go through that whole process again, trying to identify agitators. In this one, I wasn't trying to get down until I absolutely had to get down, because it was treacherous, if I'm being completely honest. And if I felt like if I got down, I would have probably been stomped. So, until it was safe for me to get down, I didn't. And that drew me the 115, and they stuck me in the hole at this facility. And, I was there for probably about a week before they transferred me back to North Kern. But in that time I was getting word from some of the homeboys because the way it's set up, you can see one of the day rooms from the isolation cells. And there's like a red line outside, like they can't just come up to the door and talk to you, but they can like sign, or if there isn't a guard present, and those guards were a joke there too, geo security types. But yeah, they coming up and telling me how certain people that didn't participate were basically they put people on them. And the thing is, though, while we're trying to clean up our mess, it flared up again out there. And that one, it that one sucked because I knew it was going on, and I knew we were really short on numbers at that point. And I couldn't assist the homeboys out there while that was going on. And that's another thing that occurs after the riot. You have all the administrative stuff that happens, but you have cleanup on your own part. You have diplomatic discussions, if you will, with the other race that was involved in the situation. And to be honest with you, a lot of times people will say, "Oh yeah, it's a dead issue," with ill intentions, just waiting for the other group to drop their guard so they can rush again, because they feel like not necessarily they need some get back, but people are pissed off, And the thing is, maybe your group got the better of the other group, but somebody felt like they didn't truly get theirs in the last riot. So, they're just looking for a reason to rush again. And, when you got a bunch of alpha youngsters running around, like, it don't take much to flare it back up. So, that's kind of what happens in, when you're locked up after a riot. Uh, you know, some people require medical attention. Like everybody, it isn't, uh, like 300 type of shit, like the movies, like all cool, like American Me type of stuff. Uh, the thing is, people get seriously injured. They get carried off on a back brace, and one of those long orange backboards. Like if you get the bad end of it, you could be carried off on one of those. On some of these higher level prisons, like these level 4 180s, when things kick off, like some people don't make it. You know, Sometimes they have to shoot the mini to quell the incident, and sometimes people don't make it. That Pelican Bay riot video, like they shot that homie, and that was eventually what made it stop. That was a long riot. That was ugly. But and rest in peace to that homie. So I want to say, shout out to the Paisas, shout out to the Southsiders. Nothing but love for you guys, and I mean no disrespect by the video. Like it's in there, it's business. So that's kind of what happens. The 115 start coming. You end up with your 115 hearing probably in the hole. Uh, just depends on the situation. But like I said, some people don't make it out of those situations, and it isn't necessarily at the hands of the other inmates. It's at the hands of the guards. If there's weapons involved and they see you in an aggressive manner over somebody, like you're hitting them, they'll take the shot. So, it's something to consider when, uh, you know, you think you may be going to prison, or you're living a lifestyle that would end you up in prison. So, yeah, that's my video for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. The thing is, if you clean up your bad habits, chances are you're not going to end up in one of these places and have to deal with any of this crap. And that's exactly what it is, you know, like growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, like it was always made out to be like it was some Hollywood thing to go to the joint and kick it off with whoever, you know? And everybody, whenever they tell you the story, they always tell you the story like our team always wins and their team always loses. But to be honest with you, at the end of the day, does anybody really win? I mean, you're still going back to that bunk in the dorm or that cell in the cell block. And the thing is, you know, the winners don't get ice cream. You know, like I try to bring a little bit of humor to it, but you know, it's an ugly thing. And one thing I left out was after these riots kick off, especially on the higher levels, when I ended up on the 3 yard at Delano, uh, you know, like they had been on lockdown for like 7 or 8 months already. And, you know, I came into a lockdown and these lockdowns suck. You know, I mean, you don't necessarily get everything that you've got coming as far as that goes. And you're stuck in a 9 by 12 cell all day with another grown man. Let that sink in, you know? I mean, if you have a good celly, it isn't too bad, but, you know, it's not the life to live. So, family, fitness, and freedom are the things that allow me to get my life together and make that change to where I could be a positive impact on my family and the community, and they can help you as well. If you're new to sobriety, welcome. You can do this. You really can. It's just a matter of taking that first step and making the moves necessary to make it happen, you know? Let's do this, you know? So, anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button, drop a comment, share the video, hit that notification bell so that when I go live, like I probably will later on tonight, you will be notified and you can come and check it out. We talk sobriety and whatever else is going on in the world. So, yeah, definitely check those out. Also, hit that join button and become a member. It's the best way to support the channel, and I appreciate it. So, hope everybody had a great week. Let's make it a great weekend, and don't look at the mountain. Just start climbing.